Space equals economic opportunity and dramatically improved business performance. In short, space is no longer just about science and exploration and security. It is about economic opportunity as well as improved sustainability of our planet. This is what a day would look like without space. It would certainly be disruption with hints of chaos. You might not wake up because your alarm clock wouldn't work because your smartphone depends on the precision navigation and timing satellites that provide the timing signal. You might have trouble finding your way because our navigation systems, or even our ability to take an Uber, is dependent on GPS satellites. Financial systems that are heavily dependent on precision timing and satellite communications would slow down or lock up. And transportation systems, air travel, shipping, would also freeze. And of course, you wouldn't be able to predict the weather. You'd have to go outside and look yourself.
I live in the UK. Who knows what the weather's going to be? Just always take a brolly with you is the advice. How big is this industry? I just indicated at the start 600 billion, but just spell it out for us. Where is the biggest impact being felt?
Well, Georgia, your setup was perfect. And every year, the numbers exceed our previous estimations. I think at one point we thought maybe it would be $1 trillion economy by 2040. That's moved all the way up to 2030. And just this past year, it was well over 600 million, as you mentioned. Let's just put that into comparison, right? The automotive industry is a $3.5 trillion economy each year. So space is not as big as automotive, but it is significant and growing fast. And I think many don't appreciate the economic impact it has. And that impact is mostly space for Earth. That is, satellites in space that are providing value, economic value, for us here on the planet.
Can I ask about the change in prediction of how big this will be? Why has it changed? Because that's in a decade, you brought that forward, that $1 trillion figure forward a decade. Why has that been revised? And how did we get it so wrong beforehand?
The space economy has gone through several epochs or ages. And the last big boom in the space economy nearly 30 years ago ended up essentially being a bust. And so I think there were some open questions early in this cycle, what we now call the fourth space age, as to whether or not the economic potential would be fully realized. A lot of venture capital money flowed into new space companies in the last 5 years. There were big question marks around whether or not they would succeed, and whether or not the applications that space provides, which we'll talk more about, were really going to catch on commercially and not within government. And so those questions are starting to be answered. And the growth trajectory remains strong, and stronger, I think, than some skeptics may have initially believed. Although I'll say we've always been bullish on the potential for the space economy.
You talk about 3 pillars of space. Let's dig into each of those with a business case example, if you would. What are the 3 pillars of space, firstly?
Most of the value from space is coming today from satellites that are providing value back to Earth. We call this, in short, space for Earth. And those satellites are essentially performing 3, maybe arguably 4 functions. One is precision navigation and timing. We know this in the United States as a GPS, but there is also the European Galileo system, the Chinese Beidou system. There are multiple what we call precision navigation and timing systems that provide us with that precision navigation opportunity. There's another set of satellites that provide communication, and then finally satellites that provide observation. The way we like to think about this is today we are able from space to provide persistent and pervasive and precise communication, location, and observation in a way that you couldn't do even 5 years ago, and arguably was only available to security establishments around the world. And so what that's allowing us to do is leverage this precision and pervasiveness of those 3 things to unlock new business opportunity. Like satellite internet is coming. We've always had large sat phones that could provide you some sort of signal in remote areas. But increasingly, we're moving into an age where satellites can provide internet services that rival those provided by terrestrial ground systems. And even your airline internet services are increasing. I hopped on a flight just the other day that has the new Starlink system, and it's a game changer in terms of your ability to stream while flying. So, satellite communications is really closing the digital divide and offering everybody everywhere in the world access to internet.